Oh, hi. I was messing with the settings. I use this platform, this app called StreamYard, and I'm able to go live to multiple locations at the same time, which is why some of you are watching me on YouTube, some are watching me on Twitter/X, some are watching me on Instagram. But Instagram is weird, and it doesn't let you do it natively. It's kind of strange, and so you have to hit go live in StreamYard and in Instagram. So my apologies for looking like a deer in the headlights. So let me back up for a second and say hello. I'm Rosalinda Román, and I go by Rosalinda, and I'm super glad you're here. I have this live stream. It's a weekly live stream where I am going to be sharing a chapter of my book with you. So the book is this one right here. Let's see. It's a little backwards. Losing Sight of the Shore, How to Live on a Boat Without Killing Your Family. That's the subtext. And that is my family, my 3 kids and German Shepherd. They were much younger then. They're a lot older now. This was actually only I just published this a year and a half ago. But anyway, so why am I doing this? Because I wanted to make the commitment to go live at least once a week on my social media platforms, which have been sorely neglected for a very long time, as all of you who have been my followers know very well. So that was part of it, is I wanted to go live, and that was just to see if I could create that goal of doing it once a week and stick to it. But the other thing is I wanted to share my book with you. And what is the book about? It's about us living on a sailing catamaran with the kids and the dog. And I wrote some of the book while we were living on the boat, and some of the book was written after we sold the boat. So yeah, it's an adventure. It basically, now we're landlocked in New Mexico, for those of you that don't know, which is our home base now. But I do miss the ocean, and I do miss our liveaboard life. So I figured I would do some reminiscing by sharing a chapter with you. I'll just read a chapter a week, and you all can join me along for the ride. Let's see, any other notes? Oh, at the very end, by the way, this is live. So you're able to put comments in the platform that you're watching. And for example, I'll show you an example of it right now. My friend Brigitte, I always say your name wrong, Lynn Banda is here live with me. So I'm able to show you the comment that she put in one of the social media platforms. She's watching on Facebook. So if you put comments in, I'm going to actually share those at the very end. So right now, all I'm going to do is read a chapter. I'm just going to be focusing on the book and not in the comments, so I don't get too nervous. And I guess that's it. And then at the end, I'll share those comments. If you put them in the comment section, I'll share the nice ones with you. I guess if somebody says that's a horrible book, maybe I'll share that too. We'll see. But anyway, so without further ado, this is going to be chapter 1 of Losing Sight of the Shore. And by the way, I was on Brigitte's, you have to tell me how to say her name, her show where she interviews authors. She was the first interview I ever did relating to the book. So thank you for that. Okay, here we go. First, let me take a deep breath. And here we go. Chapter 1. What's next? Oh, what's next is I'm putting on my glasses. Once again, vanity gets the best of me. Oh, now you guys know it's live. Okay, here we go. Chapter 1, what's next? They were the longest 10 seconds of my life. Lying on the dock, arms in the pitch black water, screaming, scrambling, frantically trying to find my daughter, Ahava, after she and our dog, Nala, had slipped underwater in the foot-wide gap between the dock and the Dawn Treader. It felt as if everything were moving in slow motion, and all color had drained out of the world around me. It was nighttime, and the 6 of us, 5 humans and 1 canine, were just returning to our floating home. Having grown up on the Dawn Treader, 1-year-old Nala was as sure-footed as anyone on the crew, and neighbors regularly marveled at the sight of a German Shepherd leaping 5 feet straight up from the dock to the deck. She had done this successfully 1,000 times before, but on that terrifying night, it was raining and slippery, and she didn't make it. With her paws flailing wildly, seeking a foothold, Nala started falling into the water. Ahava and I were both on the dock below, but Ahava was closer. As she tried to stop Nala's fall and give her the little boost she needed to get back up on deck, the Dawn Treader pushed away from the dock and Ahava lost her own footing. In horror, I watched them both go under, thus beginning those worst 10 seconds I'm referring to. Somehow my husband, Nathan, managed to jump off the boat over my head and pull both dog and daughter back onto the dock, soaking wet and spooked, but relatively intact. I couldn't tell you exactly how it all happened because, unlike Nathan, who is eerily calm under pressure, I have a shut-off switch in my brain which prevents me from functioning at all in situations like this. Now, those horrible 10 seconds became a part of our liveaboard life story, a story I can't help but reflect on as I'm sitting on the Dawn Treader for the last few days she is ours. As I struggle to accept the sale of the Dawn Treader as the great thing Nathan thinks it is, I search for clarity about what I want to do next. The strangest realization is that moments like those do not register as a mark against living on a boat for me. They don't make me want to run away from this lifestyle any more than any other near disaster would stop us from living our lives to the fullest. I wouldn't avoid spending quality time with my family on a gorgeous country ranch just because Samuel spent the earlier part of this week with massive bumps on his face and shin after slamming into a tractor tire while driving a go-kart for the very first time. Was he a mess? Yes. Was I traumatized? Very. Do I want him to never get hurt again as long as I live? Of course. But I also believe letting the worst part of an otherwise amazing experience define that experience would be ridiculous. That would be like only remembering a loved one's death and ignoring all the love and laughter you enjoyed with them while they were alive. If you've ever had a child break an arm or a leg in a youth sport and still let them participate after they healed, you know what I mean. You probably felt that the benefits of participating outweighed the risks. For me, living on a boat is the same thing. This wasn't exactly a position I came to naturally. The fire to grow, expand, and explore, and the desire to see all this that this world has to offer definitely burns from somewhere deep within me. But the courage to actually put myself, and now my children, in the position to actually do those things is largely something I learned from my beloved, often begrudgingly, over the past 20 plus years. When I met Nathan, the thing that struck me the most was how differently he moved through the world. He always had this marvelous sense of space, like there were no walls around him, like nothing could ever contain or shrink the bigness of his spirit, like he owned the place. I remember thinking to myself, if I ever have kids, I want them to move through the world with confidence like that. A lot of that came from the way he was raised in Tucson, Arizona, when it was still very much the Wild West, and by a mother who, among other claims to fame, ran away to work on a salmon fishing boat in Alaska as a teenager in the 1940s. In other words, Nathan became the man I fell in love with, thanks to both Mother Nature and his mother's nature. Now I aspire to give that gift to my own children. If wide open spaces and a boundless spirit are what Nathan brings to the parenting table, limitless imagination tempered by cautious over-preparedness is my contribution. If you ask my kids to describe me, they will likely respond, "Mommy is always prepared," except for that one time. The one time being the day I accidentally forgot the diaper bag I had packed with the usual ready-for-anything trifecta of something to wear, something to eat, and something to do. To them, it was like a glitch in the matrix that day because it was so foreign for me to arrive unprepared. This practical preparedness I learned from my own mom, who to this day goes to any party or social gathering armed with a purse full of games for entertaining grandkids, plus a book to stave off boredom during awkward lulls in conversations. That prepared for anything mentality is my way of allowing myself to explore new horizons while not letting my fears get the better of me. My sometimes super cautious nature, which now that I have kids of my own, might be mistakenly interpreted by the untrained eye as overprotective parenting, is partly because of the way I was raised, but mostly a side effect of all of the terrible stories I covered during my career as a television news reporter. In my years of covering freak accidents and the most heinous crimes imaginable for TV stations around the country, I developed an appreciation for trusting my inner voice and for implementing systems and safety checks to keep the people I love from ending up like those victims on the evening news. Knowing this, Nathan respects my need to lead with paranoia on certain issues, like agreeing to my admittedly archaic policy of never hiring male babysitters, for example, because he understands that the downside that I have witnessed is way worse than whatever the upside may be. Luckily for my kids, Nathan is still very much the boundary-pushing man I fell in love with. He regularly encourages me to expand my comfort zone and ease up on my overprotective death grip, especially in areas that aren't life or death. Sure, my kids may be the last of their friends to see a cool movie or read an edgy book, but with Nathan there to balance me out, they will at least get to experience some of those important cultural rites of passage, like seeing Star Wars or reading The Hunger Games, before they're old enough to have families of their own. As is usually the case in the best love stories, which I'd like to believe ours is, it is our opposing natures that makes life so interesting and leads to our own personal brand of happily ever after. We take turns letting the other person sit in the driver's seat, or should I say, take the helm, and that allows us to boldly go where few families have gone before, including moving onto a sailing catamaran. We don't always hit the mark, but when we, as a couple, lovingly apply the best parts of our opposing natures, the net result can be magical. Together, we do our best to fully prepare, and then we do our best to fully live. We embarrass our kids by making them use car seats, helmets, and life vests, even when none of their friends have to. And we enlighten our kids by sharing amazing adventures with them and pushing the envelope, even when it's easier not to. This is how we ended up living on a boat twice. Believe it or not, this crazy let's live on a boat idea was actually mine, not Nathan's. In general, the way we work is that I get the wild hair idea and then Nathan makes it happen. This is even true when I think I want to recant the idea. Just yesterday, I told my daughter Ziva, we have to be very careful about which seeds we plant with your daddy, because the minute we suggest something to him, he starts executing a plan even before we're really sure we're ready for that seed to grow. As we moved toward the liveaboard life, during my moments of hesitation to actually take the plunge, Nathan frequently reminded me of his personal motto, which he employs when wrestling with any major life decision. If you're trying to decide between doing something and not doing something, always do it. Over the years, I programmed myself to adopt this as my own motto because I know when I do, wonderful things happen. Horizons grow wider, comfort zones collapse. Mind you, actually doing those things isn't always easy, especially if they fall into the category of pursuing my big dreams. I do my best to fight the resistance I feel and lean into the discomfort. I remind myself that chances are good if I'm wrestling with such a decision, then it's something I really want to do and therefore worth trying, or I wouldn't really be wrestling with it in the first place. I assume the wrestling part is fueled by fear and not by the part of myself that lifts me up and believes I deserve a wonderfully full life. If I listen to that fear and choose not to do that thing, I may spend the rest of my days wishing I had made a different choice. After all, regret for the things you did can be tempered by time, but regret for what you did not do is inconsolable. Sidney J. Harris. We can always find dangers and things to fear in every environment. But with Nathan's motto as my compass, I knew that the scarier parts of living on a boat could not be the reason not to move onto a boat. That would be living our lives in avoidance of fears. Yes, it would be safer. Yes, it would be less stressful, but it would also be less of everything else. Whenever I have the chance to look at my life's journey through the lens of hindsight, I am always grateful for the times I chose to lean in. Of course, this begs the question, if living on a boat was the result of following true north on our life choices compass, why did we sell the Dawn Treader and move back to dry land? To quote a friend's relationship status on Facebook, it's complicated. It is no secret that I didn't want to sell the Dawn Treader, and as I try to figure out what's next, which was actually the original name of this beloved boat, I am going to use this book writing as a form of therapy. When we were living the dream, people frequently told me they lived vicariously through me. Now I suppose I will live vicariously through myself, digging into my memories with the help of my journals and blogs, remembering as many of our adventures from this live aboard life as I can before those horizons grow too hazy. All right, that's the end of chapter 1 of Losing Sight of the Shore. I can't believe it. I read it. Yay. All right, let me see if there's any other comments. There's a lovely follow-up comment from Brigetti. I think it's Brigetti. I wish you would, can you like put it in there so I can say it right? I'm so sorry. Anyway, I just hope you enjoyed this reading, everyone. If you did like this, please put a note in the comments, because that gives me a chance to see that you're actually enjoying this. And then I know which platforms to focus most of my attention on, because I am kind of wide blasting it. So thank you. She says, I loved having you on my show and would welcome you back. Thank you so much. That is super, super kind. All right. I think that's it for now. I hope you come and join me for chapter 2 next week. I read them every Tuesday at noon on Mountain Time, and I will continue to do so. I think that is it. Just let me know, put a comment, and I guess all that you need to know now is I'm Rosa Román, and thank you for watching. Bye.